When I was 33, I thought I had finally found peace. After years of drifting between states, dead-end jobs, and failed relationships, I moved back to my childhood town of Ash Hollow, a small, forgotten dot on the map, nestled between a pine forest and an abandoned train line. The kind of place people only remembered when they needed to disappear. I wasn't running from the law or a failed marriage. I was running from myself. My parents had left me the family home after they passed one of those creaky about my finances. I passed. Whether I still had life insurance from my corporate days, I laughed it off, thinking it was small-town nosiness. Slurred one night, but his eyes never laughed with me. Said she moved around a lot, changed jobs too often, and something about her didn't smell right. I told him to back off, and we didn't talk much after that. 2-story houses with crooked shutters and a porch that sagged in the middle. The kind of house that whispered at night. I spent my days fixing it up, hammering, sanding, repainting. I hadn't shared my banking info with anyone, not even Lena. I called the bank, reported fraud, and filed a police report. They said it could take weeks. Talking to a man I didn't recognize. At a bus stop, looking over her shoulder. No leads, trying to scrub away the past with every coat of fresh paint. Only asking that I join him for drinks every Friday night at Rusty's Tavern. At first I thought he was just lonely, but it wasn't that. That's when I met Tom Granger. Her eyes were tired, but kind, like someone who'd lived too much life too young. I liked her immediately. Tom didn't. Tom ran a small contracting business in town. He was loud, confident, and always carried this cheap cigar between his fingers, even when it wasn't lit. He said he recognized me from high school, though I couldn't remember him. Maybe he had one of those forgettable faces. Still, he offered to help with the plumbing and electrical work for almost nothing in return, said it was neighborly. I should have known something was off when he refused payment. Tom was grooming me for trust. One night after too many drinks, Tom started asking personal questions. Things got worse when I started dating Lena. She was new in town, an artist renting a cabin at the edge of the pines. We met at the farmer's market. You sure she ain't one of those gold diggers? What gold? I snapped. You've seen my house. But he kept pressing, saying he'd looked her up. A week later, my bank account was emptied. Not just drained, cleaned out. My savings, emergency fund, everything. I started getting phone calls from debt collectors for credit cards I'd never opened. That's when the letters started coming. Anonymous envelopes slid under my door. Inside were printed pictures of Lena. At the grocery store, each photo had a sticky note that simply said, "She's playing you." I wanted to believe the photos were fake, or at least misunderstood. Maybe Lena was just being friendly. Maybe the man in the photo was her brother, or a neighbor, or someone she asked for directions. Tom wasn't there, which was odd. He practically lived in that place. The road lit only by the occasional street lamp and the dull orange glow of my flashlight app. The moment I reached my porch, I noticed something strange. Nothing seemed taken or broken, but the house had changed. Subtly, I asked the bartender, who said Tom hadn't been seen in a couple days. My toolbox, usually kept in the basement, was now in the living room, like someone had rummaged through it and forgot to hide their trail. No calls, no truck out front. It just vanished. But something gnawed at me. A feeling I couldn't shake. I stayed quiet. You're not the first man this has happened to. It's the next Friday. I went to Rusty's Tavern alone. Years ago, he'd been implicated in a fraud ring that targeted widows and recent divorcees. Charges were dropped, and maybe Lena was in on it. Or maybe she was just another one of his victims. I didn't know. Witness disappeared. Case dissolved. I walked home through the fog. I sat in the kitchen with a knife in my hand, waiting for a noise, a shadow, anything. My front door was ajar, just slightly. My heart pounded as I stepped inside. A cabinet door was left open that I knew I'd closed. The light in the hallway bathroom was on. I called Lena, no answer. The next morning, I found muddy footprints leading from the woods to my back porch. Size 12 boots, maybe. Same tread pattern I'd seen Tom wear before. I followed the trail halfway into the pines before it vanished into soft earth. Before I moved here, I lived in a town outside Baton Rouge. I dated a guy named Colin. He was charming, sweet, then he turned controlling. He'd stalk me, follow me, accuse me of cheating. He'd take my phone, monitor my calls. Eventually, he tried to ruin my credit and leave me stuck in debt. Lena finally showed up around noon, flustered and out of breath, said her phone died and she'd gone into the city for supplies. I told her everything about the photos, the money, the break-in. Her face went pale. "I think someone's trying to frame me," she said quietly. "That stopped me cold." "What do you mean?" She bit her lip. I asked her why she never reported him. She looked away. He was the police. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Part of me wanted to comfort her. The other part was screaming, "Get out now." That night I decided to dig deeper. I searched Tom's name online, found an old court record buried behind outdated local news. I now realized he was watching me before we even met. The free help, the drinking nights, the interest in my insurance. It was all part of a setup. But what I did know, someone wanted me broken. That night I didn't sleep. Just before 3 a.m. I heard something move in the attic. And then footsteps. Deliberate, slow. Above me, I crept up the stairs. Every board creaked like it knew I was terrified. The attic door was slightly cracked. I pushed it open, empty, except for something lying in the middle of the floor. A small cassette recorder and a note. "Play me if you want the truth." I stared at the tape recorder for a long time before picking it up. It was old. One of those bulky gray ones with a red record button and a dusty cassette inside. The label on the tape was blank. Just a single smudge of dried dirt across the plastic. With shaking fingers, I pressed play. The tape crackled. Static. That I set you up. That I was after your money. I won't lie, that was the plan. At first, then a voice, low, tired, and slightly hoarse. It was unmistakably Tom's. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm either dead or too close to it to matter." I froze. My stomach knotted. "I know what you think." But then Lena showed up. "You were just another easy mark. Quiet, isolated. Had that old insurance policy I overheard you mention once at the tavern? Said you had secrets? That you'd be easy to bend? But you didn't break like the others." That's when she changed the game. Multiple towns. Then silence. Multiple men. I'm waking up in a ditch with a busted shoulder and a warning carved into my arm. Stay silent. Gripping the same knife I'd held the night before, peeked through the stairwell. She finds guys who've been hurt, widowed, heartbroken, or just plain broken, and she breaks them again. The one I'd kept hidden in my sock drawer upstairs. A box of IDs. Just sat there in that dusty attic, feeling the weight of every mistake, every misplaced trust. Every night I thought I was safe. Men's names, photos, driver's licenses. Not warmly, but like a hunter spotting wounded prey. Tall, pale, eyes like cold steel, some scratched out, some stained with what I hope was coffee, but it wasn't coffee. I tried to confront her. Drains them. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's worse. The tape clicked. Pause. Then resumed. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. Scammed some lonely people. Played the part. Lena wasn't supposed to be part of this. I didn't even know who she was. And now, his voice broke. She's done this before. Another pause, this time longer. I could hear breathing. She came to me with the plan. The tape word again. I found something in her cabin. She smiled. Next thing I know, the last few seconds of the tape were just him sobbing. The tape ended. I didn't move for a long time. Then I heard the creak of the front door opening downstairs. I shoved the tape in my pocket and crept down slowly. Lena stood in the living room, her back to me, her head tilted as if listening. And she was holding something, my spare phone. She hadn't seen me yet. I backed up quietly, trying not to breathe. I turned to head back to the attic and came face to face with someone else, a man I'd never seen before. He smiled. "I think it's time we talk," he said softly. My breath caught in my throat. The man didn't move. He just stood there at the top of the stairs, blocking my retreat. I noticed a long scar on his jawline, poorly healed, and hands that looked like they'd de-broken things that didn't belong to them. He nodded toward the attic. "Found the tape, didn't you?" I said nothing. "Good. Means we're skipping the lies this time." Behind me, I heard Lena's voice drifting up from the living room. "Everything okay up there?" the man called back calmly. Yeah, he's got it. Got what? My mind raced. I was trapped. No weapons. One knife versus two people, one of whom clearly knew their way around pain. No one needs to get hurt, just stared. Then he leaned in close and whispered, "Unless you make it that way." To all the wrong people. Just kept my eyes on the man behind me, so she sent me to clean up. And now, here you are, clutching the same story like it's gonna save you. He stepped closer. Let's go downstairs. I didn't move. Think you're the first man to hear Tom's little goodbye? Regret? Maybe throw in a drink or two? His words slammed into my chest. He mailed copies. And for the first time, I saw her clearly. No more soft smiles or fragile trembles. Just cold precision. You look like the poetic type. He grabbed my arm and led me down into the living room where Lena was now seated on the couch, legs crossed, sipping tea like she wasn't part of a murder plot. I even gave you a chance to walk away. But like all of them, you had to push, not fake. Real tears. For my wife, for Tom, for every stupid moment I thought I had control over my life. She smiled as I entered. Was that as I wrote? My left hand reached under the table to the small strip of duct tape holding the emergency flare I kept hidden since last winter storm. You weren't supposed to find that tape, you know? I didn't answer. Don't look at him, she said. Look at me. I did. The mask was gone. I was kind to you. The man pulled a chair out and forced me to sit. Now, she said, you're going to write a note. Something about how the guilt got too heavy. About your wife. Make it sound poetic, she added with a smirk. I stared at her in disbelief. You kill people? I said. She shrugged. Not always. Sometimes I just race them. Then she reached into a bag and tossed something on the table. Tom's hat, blood-soaked. I closed my eyes. I needed time. I needed a plan. I needed her to think I was broken, so I did something I hadn't done in years. I cried. Not just for show, Lena sighed. See, you do get it. She handed me a pen. I started writing, but what she didn't notice, one spark, one distraction. I had one shot. The flare was cold against my fingertips. They hadn't noticed. Lena was reading over my shoulder now, scanning my fake suicide note like a proud editor. The scarred man stood behind me, arms folded, cocky in his silence. Make the ending sadder, she said, more hopeless. I nodded, fingers tightened around the flare striker. 3 years ago, I'd stashed it under the table for blizzards, in case the power went out and I needed to signal from the porch. I never imagined I'd be lighting it for war. Lena turned to pour another cup of tea. Struck the flare. Fush. The hiss filled the cabin. Bright red fire flooding the room like a scream. The man cursed, stumbling back, shielding his eyes. I ducked under his arm and rammed my shoulder into Lena, knocking her into the fireplace. I lunged. Knife in one hand, flare in the other. I drove the blade straight into his thigh. He howled, swinging wildly into the snow, the flare still burning in my hand like a lifeline. She shrieked as her arm hit the burning logs. I ran, through the front door. Behind me, the cabin lit up in chaos. The man screaming, Lena yelling orders, crashing wood and breaking glass. They didn't stop running until I reached the main road. Covered in sweat and smoke, I flagged down the first car I saw. A red pickup with an old couple inside. They didn't ask questions. They found her with my phone in her pocket, disappeared. Some think he never existed. No phones, no internet. Others say he was seen years later in a town 2 states away, doing the same thing with a different woman. Tom's tape in her backpack, and 3 fake IDs in her jacket, to make sure you never trust again. Not because I want to remember, but because I don't want to forget. Just saw the terror on my face and called 911. By the time the sheriff got there, the cabin was already burning. The man, gone. And the big one, the disappearance of 4 other men, now being dug up thanks to evidence from her cabin, Lena caught trying to flee through the woods. She didn't speak a word, not even in court. She just sat there, dead-eyed, as the judge read the charges. Fraud, attempted murder, arson, conspiracy. Tom's body was never found, but they found traces of blood that matched his DNA. Lena got life without parole. The man with the scar? Me. I moved out west, bought a little cabin far from anyone, just a notebook and one tape. I listen to it sometimes. Tom's last words echo in my ears every time. She doesn't just ruin you, but I do trust again, just not people, only instincts. Only the scream inside me that once saved my life. And maybe, just maybe, that scream will save someone else's. If they ever hear my story,